Recently, while I was taking a shower, a random thought popped into my head. No, not that one. It was a hypothetical. Say that you were afraid to open doors with your good old meat claws. Could you still beat Elden Ring? Well, no. You start locked in a room with a rapidly decomposing body, and with the gases slowly filling the room, you have to open the door to escape. So no, you can't beat Elden Ring without opening any doors. But this brings us another interesting question. How many doors must be opened to beat the game? Well, I could answer that right here because I have a decent memory, or we could find out together as I try and beat the game opening as few doors as possible. After some therapy and accepting that some doors must be opened, I began the game, and left the dining room to be viciously assaulted by the Grafted Scion. But I guess my body wasn't good enough for them because instead of dismembering me and adding me to the spider, they instead just flushed me down the toilet. I was then fished out of the toilet by Melina and she left me my flasks, but I'm a bit concerned about where she put them because, no pockets. Getting my broken ass up off the floor, I found my worst fear. Door. So yeah, we're gonna have to open this one. And then guess what I found after riding the elevator up? Yeah, another door. This really isn't starting well, but hey, now we're in the open world, so I should have a better level of maneuverability. Before we get moving, I want you all to comment down below about how many doors you think will be required in total. Right now we're at 3, so let me know. Heading to the gate front to contact Melina, I first gave this good man a foot job. Yeah. After that, I met with Melina and agreed to help her out if she could get me some clothes, but instead she gave me a horse, so thanks I guess. Now before the real game can begin, I need a setup, and while doing so, I realized that a lot of items will be off the table, such as the whetstone blade, because, well, there's a door, and I can't open it. Anyways, I grabbed all the usual stuff, golden runes here, golden seed there, nice view while climbing up the ladder in fort height, but then it was time to get my weapon. I spoke with Kale about the furry convention going on in the woods and then met with Blyde, and with his help, I killed the traitor Darrowwill for the Bloodhound's Fang. And yes, I'm using the Bloodhound's Fang, deal with it, this isn't really a challenge video. After the fight, I picked up the Sombra 2 from Blyde before upgrading the Bloodhound's Fang and facing off with Margit. So yeah, Margit got pwned, but then I was abducted by Melina. She took me to the round table hold, which was filled with all sorts of strange characters, so I made sure to get the hell out of there as fast as my legs could take me. Returning to Stormvale, I met with Gostock, who told me to head around back, and because of my non-confrontational nature, I did as I was told. Unfortunately, that did not end up working out because I can't enter the grape room to grab the key, because, well, it's behind a door. But it doesn't really matter because it's not like I could even open the other door, so I was forced to return to Gostock and ask him to open the main gate, which is kind of like a door but doesn't count because I'm not the one opening it. Avoiding being skewered by the ballistas, I ran by literally everything and eventually got to Godric. And I almost got Godric on the first try, but Marika might just hate me because, damn, this one hurts. After mildly improving in capability, I took Godric down and secured my first Great Rune. But this is where the road ends. There's another door. Or that's what I would say if this was Dark Souls 3, but this is Elden Ring, so I can just go around the outside of Stormvale, but before doing that, there are a few things I want to grab in Godric's domain before I head into Liurnia. I picked up the Claw Talisman from the Bird Tower, the Godscan Prayer Book from the Rat Dungeon, and ran by the Bridge Golems to try and restore Godric's Great Rune. But the key word there is try, because there's a door. This means I will not be able to use any Great Runes during this run. Anyways, heading around the outside of Stormvale, I'm now in Liurnia, and I'll let you in on something I didn't know. Fighting Renala isn't an option, because I can't even get into Raya Lucaria. Not because of the magic force field, but because door. So I guess I'll go for Redon instead. To fight Redon, I first needed to activate the festival, so I can either go up the Dectus lift or do Ronnie's quest. And because I needed to pad the runtime, I decided to head for Caria Manor, where I met Ronnie. Now in her employ, I headed downstairs to meet with the rest of the gang before eventually meeting with Blyde underground. Talking to Blyde, he informed me that he was in fact useless and that I should talk to Celavis. Talking to Celavis, he gave me a reference to one of his prior victims and sent me on my way. I then tried to talk to Selen, but somehow I had forgotten that there was a door. Which now makes the past few sentences pointless because I'm gonna have to use the Dectus lift to activate the Redon Festival. Heading the Fort Faroth, I grabbed the second half of the medallion before being forcefully executed by Biggie Cheese. With both halves of the Dectus medallion, I rode the lift up to the Altus Plateau before doing a U-turn and heading for Redmane Castle. Now that the festival has begun, I brought all the boys along to take down Redon. With him now at room temperature, I have both great runes needed to enter Lane Dell, but only having opened 3 doors still. Pretty good. Up in Altus, I did the normal collecting of golden seeds before fighting the Draconic Tree Sentinel. As always, he provides a mild level of inconvenience, but now I'm in Lane Dell, and now that I'm here, Melina decides that it's now time for her to take her leave. Next up is Goldfree, the Piss Man, who always does his best to remind me that it's pretty hard, if not impossible, to make a ghost bleed. But now, with Goldfree down, I moved on to the real boss of Lane Dell, Morgott the Footmeister. And this fight did not go well. I got butt-stroked by Morgott over and over. I eventually realized that I probably should grab some real armor, and then it only took 1 try. With Morgott dead, I went to enter the Erd Tree, but it turns out that the tree went and got a restraining order against me. But I like to see this more as a challenge. So I began plotting on how to get inside the Erd Tree's home. But then Melina decided that now is time for her to make her return. Her suggestion, arson, which as a Californian, I guess works for me. On my way to the Forbidden Lands, I ran into a problem. A door. But I don't really see a way around this door, so I'm gonna have to open it. So that makes it door number 4. Into the snow, I headed to the Grand Lift of Rold before heading straight for the Fire Giant. This boss is just amazing. One of the best that FromSoft has ever made. You just spend 3 or 4 minutes running around staring at his feet, which is truly peak boss design. After the fight, I watched Melina burn at the stake and somehow ended up in Fair Missoula, a land in the sky, and a land without doors, which is good. For the Godskin duo, I brought Bernie Sanders along, because this fight is ass. Now for Malekith, and while I've started to get used to the first phase of his fight, he still kicks my ass in the second half. Eventually, I was able to catch a break, and Malekith went down, and I unleashed Destined Death on the world. With the world destroyed, I somehow ended up back in Lane Dell, but now it looks more like Transit or the Pacific Palisades circa 2025. All that stands between me and the end of the game now is 3 bosses and no doors. It seems that doors are not immune to the effects of the apocalypse, so our path to the Erd Tree is door free. So let's end this quickly. After a few tries, I put the beat down on the elderly Gideon, like the staff in an old folks home. I then interrupted the mourning of a father in grief before killing him so I could sleep with his ex-wife. But it turns out the trick was on me. There was no woman. There never was. I was caught out, exposed, and embarrassed. But with there being no doors inside the boss arena, I was able to avenge myself before Elden Beast showed up and ruined the entire boss fight. Hey, but apparently now you're able to summon Torrent for this fight now? The fight's still shit, but you can't win them all. So here we are at the end. And how many doors did it take to get here? Well, 4. Which reminds me of a quote from the world famous philanthropist Kyle Rittenhouse. 4 doors, more whores. There must be some deep meaning somewhere in there, but I'll leave that to someone else. Anyways, I got another video in the works, but well, I'm a low tier YouTuber so it's taking a while. And I hope to see you all again next time. Peace.